Alessandra Romano, da Universidade de Siena, que está conosco como professora visitante e vai ficar conosco até o início de fevereiro. Ela é uma parceira nossa das nossas redes de pesquisa em aprendizagem transformadora, e nós temos publicações conjuntas, nós fazemos uma parte de um grupo internacional que discute a aprendizagem transformadora. E fora os fóruns, né, todas as atividades, como vocês sabem, a gente vem incorporando a aprendizagem transformadora na nossa universidade, que é uma proposta de uma educação muito mais reflexiva, que vai além, né, da formação das competências técnico-profissionais. Ela busca desenvolver no estudante uma autorreflexão sobre quem ele é e quem ele pode se tornar nos anos que ficam conosco, como que aquelas experiências que ele está vivendo, né, que o professor ajuda né, a desenvolver uma série de conhecimentos necessários a uma área ou a um campo específico, e como que ele pode não só do ponto de vista cognitivo, entender o que é aquele conhecimento, para que ele serve, mas pensar e se conectar até emocionalmente, por que aquele conhecimento importa, por que aquilo interessa para ele, né? E o que o mobiliza, o que o não mobiliza. E se a gente quer uma educação muito mais reflexiva, a gente tem que entender como preparar atividades reflexivas, mas, ao mesmo tempo, a gente tem que entender como é que a gente avalia se realmente o que a gente está fazendo vai ter um impacto, né? Se realmente promove uma transformação. E se promove uma transformação, o que de fato disparou? E que atividades e que experiências ajudam os alunos a refletirem sobre si mesmo e sobre o que estão fazendo. Então, para ajudar nessa conversa, eu acho que nós vamos ter a oportunidade de ter 5 workshops com a professora Alessandra Romano. Esse é só o primeiro, focado em métodos para avaliação dos resultados da aprendizagem transformadora, que é um dos grandes desafios. Se vocês forem buscar na literatura, artigos, textos, pesquisas nessas áreas, vocês vão ver que é um desafio enorme. É um grande debate internacional. E como nós estamos muito acostumados a avaliar os alunos do ponto de vista cognitivo, que ele sabe o que ele não sabe, isso se torna ainda um desafio maior. E é nessa proposta que a professora Alessandra Romano vem nos ajudar. Então, eu agradeço a presença de vocês, professores, que estão aqui conosco hoje. E, se puderem, voltem para os outros workshops, tragam seus colegas e vamos avançando nesse debate que vai tornando as nossas experiências cada vez mais ricas. Então, eu vou passar a palavra. I just introduce yourself. Ok, ela entendeu quase tudo. Então, a gente vai um pouco no inglês, se alguém tiver alguma dificuldade ou quiser alguma colaboração. Se alguém fala italiano, hoje um grupo falou italiano e respondeu em italiano para a professora, vários professores dominam, então a gente pode, nesse bate-papo multilinguístico também. O que é importante é que essa conversação ajude todos nós a avançarmos nesse conhecimento e nas experiências que a gente passa para os nossos alunos. Então, thank you very much, Alessandra. It's up to you now.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professora Brunstein, and thank you also to Professora Piva. And I apologize in advance. I will speak slowly, but I used to speak in English, and if you want, we can, some of you can make some translation in Portuguese, porque eu não sou falar em português, eu estou aprendendo, mas eu não sou, I'm not a good learner, so I'm still, but I can understand when you speak Portuguese, and I also, yesterday, everything was in Portuguese, but I understood maybe the 80%. Or I just understood something that was all in my mind. We will never check this together, okay? But thank you for your wonderful welcoming, and thank you for being here. I know that it's very important, this topic of the evaluation of the transformative outcomes, and I know that all of you are doing a wonderful, wonderful work. I was impressed last afternoon, yesterday, when I saw all the projects and all the project that you are presenting as Grupos de Trabalhos, and so it's a real pleasure to stay with you today. In the meanwhile, there is Sara Rossi, a PhD student who is traveling with me from Italy, that is distributing a marker with a small white sheet, because we are asking for putting your name, and maybe before starting it would be nice if you can just introduce yourself, your name, the subject that you teach, and if you want something funny about you. I can tell you something funny about me, but just if you want. I discovered that I prefer Brazilian desserts more than Italian desserts. So that's funny that I didn't know before coming here. Maybe you want to start. Also in Portuguese, it's fine. Obrigada. Just give you the microphone now.
I work at CCSA, the same unit as Professor Alessandra. I teach disciplines related to organizational behavior, human resources, and introduction to business administration. Okay. Funny about me? I like Brazilian and Italian desserts, and I like Italian coffee, but in my opinion, Italian ice cream is delicious, is the best. Okay.
See. Hi there. My name is Nelson Maestrelli. I'm a teacher at engineering school of Mackenzie, and now I'm coordinating the undergraduate course of mechanical engineering.
Hi, I'm Jorge Bolsinhas. I'm a law professor. I teach labor and employment law. And one funny thing about myself is that once I was in Italy with my wife. I come from a Portuguese family. She comes from an Italian family. And we went to the Scala Theater. And by mistake, the worker recognized my family name as an Italian one and didn't recognize hers. And she was extremely jealous about that.
Hi, I am Ana Paula. I work at the Architecture and Design faculty, and I teach History of Design, Audiovisual Project, and Expression, Representation and Culture. And I think I will skip the funny thing about me, okay?
Hi, my name is Luis. I'm a designer. I teach at designer course, mostly disciplines related with project in design. And I think it's okay. It's enough.
Hi, my name is Gilbert. I'm chaplain here at the university, and I work with hermeneutics, more specifically linguistic applied hermeneutics.
We are friends, at least for the social media.
Hello, my name is Davi. Sorry for delay. I'm a professor at accounting science, and my discipline is costs. In the graduate and the postgraduate, my discipline are methodology of research and analysis, financial and economic of enterprise. I hope that to learn a lot today. Thank you. About me, I don't know what to speak about me, but my experience about the transformative learning is the best for today, because I love so much are in classroom. I love classroom. I love people. I love learning. I love to give knowledge to other. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bartholomew. I'm a teacher in psychology, and I teach psychopathology and psychological evaluation. I'm thinking about something funny to say, but probably I'm only going to do this 2 hours from now. I gotta skip this one for now. Okay.
My name is Renata. I'm a professor of law, and I'm a coordinator of the fashion law course. And something funny, I love samba, and I've already paraded at the carnival in São Paulo, and some friends that work with the dean recognize me dressed as a cricket. This, okay. And I can show you a photo after the workshop.
Okay. Hi, my name is José Maurício. I work at the Center of Communication and Language here in our university, and I teach about marketing and theories of communication. How? Something funny about me. Oh, I like carnival. But I don't know to dance samba.
Hi, my name is Thiago Costa. I'm teaching the advertisement and marketing. I graduated in design, in graphic design or industrial design. And I like design, music, movies, literature.
TikTok videos.
I like to audio visual. So it's okay. Thank you. Next.
Hi, my name is Lígia. I'm a professor at civil engineer, and I teach concrete and building materials. And something funny about me is that I can throw a ball in a line. So if I want to throw the ball in that screen, I will sure throw it on you, because I can throw it where I want it to go. I think that's funny.
Hi, my name is Rogério Yamamoto. I am professor electrical engineering. I teach in digital circuits. And something funny is, besides I'm Japanese. I don't like much fish here or Japanese stuff.
Hi, my name is John Schuker Neto, and I'm a political scientist and sociologist, and my field of study here is classical political and sociological thought in the business school. Students always, in the beginning of the class, the students always ask about my age. Are you old? And I say, no, I have been dyeing the hair for more than 20 years, and now they look natural.
Hi to everybody. My name is Melanie. I work at engineering school, and I teach subject related to programming language and mathematics. I'm very happy to be here with all of you. Thank you.
Do you want to tell anything funny about you?
I can't remember. Sorry.
Boa tarde. Meu nome é Antônia Quintão, sou professora de Ciências Sociais no Centro de Ciências Sociais e Aplicadas e também sou pesquisadora na área de diversidade racial.
Boa tarde. My name is Débora. I'm teaching. Eu vou meio a meio, não estou brincando. Eu sou professora do Centro de Educação, Teologia, Filosofia. Na instituição, sou professora de Metodologia de Ensino e também de Fundamentos Teóricos da Educação Infantil. A minha vida toda trabalhei na educação, estou fazendo esse ano 30 anos de educação. Então, eu acredito que a sala de aula é o meu lugar. Eu amo pessoas, amo estar com pessoas. Amei essa semana de aprendizagem transformadora e gosto muito de desafios.
Hi, everybody. I'll try to do my best in English, but I'm not fluent, and I'm a little bit shy now. But I'll try my best. I'll try. The funny thing, I don't know if it's funny, but it's an episode. I'll go from the back to the beginning of your request. I was one day studying Spanish, and the teacher asked me to speak in Spanish. And I started speaking, and I thought that I was doing very well. In the end of all my speech, the teacher looked at me and said to me, "You are speaking very well in Italian." That's why I had to block Italian in my mind, even though I had studied a little bit, because the combination is not working in my brain. But it's not funny, it's just an episode. And my name is Adriana. I work at CCSA, Centro de Ciências Sociais Aplicadas, and I teach and research marketing in the marketing fields. And nowadays I'm studying sustainable marketing and international marketing. Thank you very much. Should I say professoressa? Is that right? Sì, però in italiano per lei o per lui? Ah, per lei. Grazie mille. Muito obrigada. Thank you.
Hello, I am Suelene Piva. I am a physics teacher in engineering school. Well, actually, I'm not a funny person, but he gave me a good idea because I am from the Minas Gerais state in Brazil. And my family plants coffee. I have a farm of coffee, but I don't like coffee. And I don't know if it's funny. The other thing, I don't know if it's fun or a kind of disease, but I just can evaluate my students if they put everybody in the alphabetic order. I don't know if it's funny or a disease.
Hello, Professor Romano. My name is Milena, and I work with teacher, with teacher training in the Greek course. And at the moment, I don't remember nothing funny about me. Excuse me.
Okay, my name is Sylvia. I'm a teacher in CCSA, and I teach in statistics, macroeconomics, and everything you need. Something funny, when my son, when was a child, he didn't like to play in the birthday party, but I always loved, so I played a lot, and always he was asking me to go out, and I said, no, no, never, it is not the end of the party, so I'm staying. So it's so funny for me to play with the kids and to play with the dogs. Yeah. So it's funny, but in class, always the students call me stone heart. Okay.
Hi, my name is Lucas, and I'm an architect, and I teach at the undergraduation course of architecture and urbanism, and actually I'm the coordinator of the course. And funny, do I have time? Beside my English, what is funny with me, it's well, once it appears on TV, so I can tell. I was just going out from the campus, and there was an interview for the MTV, and they are asking, who do you appear, do you are similar? And I asked the guy, the interviewer, if he was not noticing that I was the face of Brad Pitt. So it appears on TV, all students saw it. It was a little bit complicated. Brad Pitt was younger at that time. No, I never saw it.
Okay, I know everybody knows who I am. I'm Professor Jeanette, but I'm attached to the Management College, especially in program of post-graduation in management. And oh my God, there are so many things funny about me because if you know, sometimes in this position, I have a lot of meetings, a lot of them. And if you tell a joke or if you say something funny and I have to become serious is my major problem because I need to laugh and laugh and laugh and oh my God, I put myself sometimes in each situation that, oh my God, I need to think in something tragic now because I can laugh. It's terrible. I need to control myself.
Well, first of all, I admire all my colleagues that can speak English. For me, it's more difficult. Quindi ho scelto di parlare italiano con te. Mio nome è Vittoria, mi chiamo Vittoria, sono economista, sono professoressa qui. Io lavoro con ricerca in economia, qualcosa di divertente. A me mi piace tantissimo la musica italiana, io l'ascolto tutti i giorni. È questo. Ma non ridere, è Gigi D'Alessio. Sì.
I don't know. It's something that please check on YouTube.
No, no, it's not necessary. Yes.
Oh, I can post something on YouTube. Capilli represents some kind of a traditional, historical, national culture.
Yes. Thank you.
I can send an email to Gigi Alessio to say, you know, Gigi, you're very famous in somehow.
But in June I will be a Napoli. Quindi io aspetto di andare a uno show di Gigi D'Alessio. Grazie.
Grazie Vittoria, grazie, muito obrigada. And Sara, maybe you are the last.
Hello everybody, I'm Sara. I'm a second year PhD student. A funny thing about me is that if you say to me to go right, I go left. So I am a really problem in orientation sometimes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you also for this very nice way of getting to know each other. It's very important also to understand much more about this multi-scientific community that is today is making us the honor to be here. You know that today the topic of the workshop will be, let's see if no, maybe, okay. Today, the topic of the workshop is transformative outcomes and the assessment of transformative outcomes. But it's very important to translate this practically and concretely according to your interest and also according to your subject, to your disciplines. So today we will have some moments of much more explanation, some moments of interactions, and some moments with a practical exercise. I brought you an handout that you can take away with you, and also a couple of tools. You call this ferramenta that you can use or choose to use one day in your class. So we can see together this couple of ferramenta that I have selected for you, and probably you can recognize some authors that you have met during the last Transformative Learning Forum. So it's very important that we will be in time. I just want to tell you that there will be a short break, maybe around 5 p.m., but we will be perfectly in time. I will manage the time, so don't worry about your night. You will have a wonderful night. We won't stay here until 10 p.m., I promise. Seriously? No, I'm seriously promise. Just to start after this presentation, I want to invite you to reflect on these 3 questions. Maybe we can distribute the handout because these 3 questions are in the second page of the handout. And you find a space to fill out the handout if you want, or you can respond to these 3 questions on your phone, on your computer, as you prefer, okay? So, yes, everyone, thank you. There should be a copy for everyone. So just in order to define what we mean for transformative outcomes, I want to be connected with the project and the Gruppo de Trabalho that yesterday said that the assessment and the evaluation is a process much more than just one short moment. Probably it's true, but this is a attention, because at the same time we know that in academia we need to give some mark, we need to grade in some ways the kind of acquisition of knowledge and acquisition of learning that our students can prove. And we need to make this evident. So we are in the midst of a process between a summative assessment that is requested to us in the end of the course, in the end of a class, in order to see what kind of acquisition, what kind of interiorization of knowledge our students have done so far. And from the other side, the idea of working in a more constructive way for evaluating and for creating a process of reflection that will continue also after our class. So I want to start with your definition of a transformative outcomes. How can we define transformation? What is exactly a transformative outcome? And most important, when can we say that a deep transformation has occurred? Because probably this is the other huge challenge that we are facing, not only to define a common definition for a transformative outcome, but also how could we say that our students get transformed? Maybe they get some reflections. Maybe they were more critical about the subject, or they get some ability to apply some knowledge to real life problems. And this could be a great achievement for just one class. But how can we seriously say that a deep transformation occurred? This is a challenge for us as educators and as professors. And last but not least, should all learning experience conduct to transformation? We are speaking about transformative learning, but that's another question on which I would like to ask you to reflect and to try to respond. So how could we manage this balance between instrumental learning, accumulative learning, and reflective learning and transformative learning? Take a couple of minutes, go to the second page of the handout, and you will find the same questions within the second page with the space to respond. And you can respond these individually, and we can talk a little bit about this. Do you all have a pen, or do you need, okay. For sure you can write in Portuguese. For sure you can write in Portuguese if you want, if you prefer, whatever kind of a language. We are a very multi-language, multilinguistic group. Finished? Okay. So I know that someone is still completing, but maybe we can start. Who wants to share at least the first response, the one about, I know Sylvia, go ahead please. You were communicating with me by keeping the eye contact.
Because some experiences that we had, but these experiences are not learned experiences, perhaps something that happened and the person thought about what happened and decided to change. So for me,
Yeah. Did all of you hear what she said? Okay. Thank you. Thank you also for putting this aspect of a behavioral change, not only just mindset, but something much more concrete and based on actions, behavioral change. Yeah. Someone else? You can go. It's you, it's you, it's you.
I agree with Sylvia. The change of a good mindset, good behavior, the change of behavior of the students increasing the innocence or even the understanding of the subject. But I think even if it's not a teaching method, I think everything can be transformative. Because I have some experience with multiple teachers, and I changed it after that. So I think
Were they life experiences? Did you have some life experiences that changed yourself? That's very important also for the survey about the transformation. So you mean a deep transformation can occur also after life experiences that are particularly struggling?
not just in classroom, but
Out of the classroom, all life. Davi?
I agree with Sylvia, and I totally agree. I think the transformative outcomes, is when the professor gets to the person get to see and apply technology in your life, in your professional areas, in way of ways. This side. In way of ways. This side.
Patricia, can I give an example of a situation with a student of mine? In fact, he studied with me for 3 semesters. And in the discipline organizational behavior, one of the topics is emotional intelligence. And I show videos, I explain situations of my life. I said, oh, when I was your age, my emotional intelligence was 0. So please don't do the same wrong things I have done during my personal and professional life. And I remember this Chinese student. In the beginning, he had some difficulties with Portuguese. And after we studied emotional intelligence, he came to me and said, teacher, now I understand that I have emotional intelligence, because in my work I have to translate some documents and some things that come from, because he works in a Chinese company here in São Paulo. So he said, I have to translate documents and other things from Chinese to Portuguese. And you know, I can't do this, just translate, because you Brazilians, I have to soften the language. Something in Chinese, okay for them, but for you Brazilian, it's very difficult. So I have emotional intelligence in the beginning, because I started doing this. Nobody asked me. I understand this situation. And you know, my Chinese bosses, they don't have emotional intelligence. So I was very happy when he gave me this example, because doing this, I remember he changed the perspective of something he was learning, and he could give me the example in details, and I understood that he understood the importance of that topic, not in theoretical ways, but to apply that in his job, in his duties every day.
Thank you, Patricia, and also for this very good example of the kind of a change in mindset. Ana Paula, would you like to add anything about, also from your perspective and from your subject?
Thank you. I think transformative outcomes occur when students start to think or act guided for new principles, even when they don't apparently notice the change. But you notice that this student changed a lot, because she is dealing with this new idea that now is inside her speech or her way of act.
Exactly. So sometimes you can observe changes, transformations, and maybe the students are not 100% aware of this kind of a change, and you can help them make it visible and make it evident. You can help them to recognize the kind of changes that they are passing through. Thank you for putting this in question. Is there anyone who wants to contribute to the third question? which is about should all learning experience be conducive to transformation?
It's, I was thinking if any kind of experience that we have in life, in any sense or some sense, creates changes in us, even though we are not aware of it, or we don't see the applications or the connections straight ahead. But in the sense of learning and education, I was thinking that maybe we have goals, objectives, and then that connects to the first question. When you think in transformative outcomes, I was thinking and achieving the planet change. And the second one, thinking that when the people, the person can apply, use to situations in life. Sometimes aware of it, sometimes not.
Not aware about it.
And the third one, that's one that puts me in the situation. I can't respond because I think that it depends on the goal that we have as teachers, or if you're thinking in teaching, I'm based in goals. But if I think in life, I think for any reason, everything that we went through will create some kind of change in ourselves. But I don't know if I'm being so philosophical. Too much philosophical.
No, if there is anyone who wants to build on this, oh, please, Lucas, go ahead.
You have good eyes, huh? You can read it.
You are
or
in
good memory.
Well, first good memory and then also good eyes, but I cannot, I need to remember the names of the people because I cannot see their names. Yeah.
Okay. Well, in the third question, I'm not sure, but I think that teaching, when we are intent to teach something, that someone will learn something not just directed by our teaching, but our intention as teaching or as teacher, it's always to conduct to a transformation. To a transformation. I think it's by this way.
Yeah, thank you for, I just want to give you some input about this, because it is related to the topic of transformation, and I can anticipate a little bit this topic, this kind of a dilemma between our expectations of a transformation and the kind of invitation to transform that we can offer our students. You know, you were pointing this, and also Adriana was pointing this, like we have some kind of expectations about students' learning and students' outcomes. We design our course thinking about what are the learning goals that we that we expect to find from our students, that we expect to see in the end of the course. So always the evaluation is a part of the designing moment, because it's the moment in which we say what are the ability, the capacity, the body of knowledge that our students should possess once they have finished my class and once they have finished my course. The issue is that there's much more expectation in this, that a real invitation, concrete invitation to learn for our students. And there's this kind of a paradox. It's called the paradox between invitation to transform and expectation of a transformation. And so just if you can take away these two words, invitation to transform and expectation of a transformation, you can see the difference in the approach that you can have. You can say that in our intention, we can say that in our intentionality, we always would like to invite our students to learn and transform and be transformed according to the content that they learn. But at the same time, we can just invite our students in an interaction with them to take the responsibility for this learning process. Because otherwise, one of the reasons why there's this disalignment between the learning objectives, the learning goals, and the grades, or the tools, the ferramenta that we use to evaluate, is because we choose to evaluate what we expect that students should learn from my class or from my course. And I can tell you that maybe we are now starting a new semester. Maybe you can start just with, but exactly which is the difference between the invitation to learn and transform that I can offer my students through the content of my class and through the way I perform in the class. Because always our students look at us. Our students always look at us as a person more than how much they listen to us as professor. So we should be very consistent in what we ask them and in the way we perform our presence with them in classroom. Because they always look at us as person. And just imagine to have just one moment starting this semester in which you can make this difference between your invitation to transform to students and the kind of expectations that you have by the end of the course. And you can also, for sure, use some kind of conversation, some kind of a discussion, some kind of a collecting feedback during the class, during the course, in order to see what's going on during the class and during the semester. Let's move a little bit on with forward with this concept that not all the learning experiences are transformative. We should, and because this is really much related to this paradox between invitation to learn and transform and expectation of a transformation. So we know that there is also some kind of instrumental learning that we gain and we offer in academia. And probably most of the academic lessons are based on instrumental learning, which is fine. It's part of the academic goals and it's part of our teaching. But how can we use instrumental learning in a reflective way? Or how could we balance instrumental learning with much more reflective learning, not transformative, because maybe it's too ambitious for just one course and just one class, but at least how could we insert, how could we balance, how could we mix the instrumental learning that is needed with reflective learning? We can start from this. We can think that if all of us do this, if in our classes, there will be a shift also from a long time, a long perspective. So just going in depth with this topic of the evaluation, what do we evaluate? I want to start with this story of evaluation. So I can tell you that at the beginning of my career, I was convinced, persuaded that I used to evaluate my students' reflective outcomes, and I was really traditional based. I was evaluating exactly the content that they were capable to memorize from the textbooks that I adopt in my examinations. And so I was like completely disaligned between my theory exposed, so the kind of my practice and my declaration. And this is what was really confusing for my students. The fact that I asked them to be reflective, to think out of the box, to think in terms of a complex problem solving, and then I expect them at the final oral examination posing them 9 questions and evaluating them with according to the clarity and the rigor of their responses. This is actually, I'm also very well in doing this. Like I could say this kind of oral examination for a long time, but there's nothing transformative about this. It's not transformative at all. I can say that I just can evaluate the capacity of memorization and recalling of my students, which is what we usually evaluate in academia, sometimes with a written examination, sometimes with essays, sometimes with multiple choices survey, okay? But how could we really valorize and giving value to the participation of our students, the level of engagement? What are the indicators that we can collect for their participation and for their level of engagement? That's the challenge. And what can I say about my class and about my course if this doesn't affect anything about the personal growth of my students? If I don't have a time to care about them and to care about their growth. And so I started studying and caring about my professional identity. I was in charge as a coordinator of the faculty development programs in my university. I have visited so many other countries and other universities in order to see what is the magic recipe. I was looking for the magic recipe for the evaluation and for supporting my students for developing critical reflection. And I can tell you that there's not a magic recipe. There's no magic recipe. I cannot provide you with a magic recipe. But we can share some tools. And I want to start with 2 stories of bad and positive evaluation experiences that Sara will tell us. Please, Sara.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Alessandra. I want to share with you some experiences about my studies. The first, it's about my master degree, and in a course, professor told us to work in group, a small group, and to make a project work about a real problem of the university context in Arezzo, where the part of the University of Siena is. But at the beginning of the course, the evaluation was not so clear, at the final evaluation. So we made the groups, we began to study the object and so on. And at the end of the course, professor told us that the project group was our final examination. And each of us had to evaluate the other students in order to give a self-evaluation and an evaluation of the others. The presentation was really on pressure. We were, the climate group changed because we weren't not prepared to this. And so my reflection was that the evaluation, the self-evaluation, the evaluation of the other is a very, it's an incredible things to give in the hand of a student. And the professor had to be a guide at the beginning, in itinerary, and in the end, just for don't make the student afraid or angry for every evaluation. And another situation, another experience is on my PhD program. At the first year, we had to study, belong a week, an intensive week of study, deeping educational research. 1 week, but very huge. And the 4th day, the professors asked us to make a survey about 100 questions on a textbook of 680 pages. All the book was very methodological in 40 minutes. And this is online. And at the end, we were very physical tired. And at the end, I'm not sure to wrote a good answers.
Thank you. Thank you. I chose with Sarah to speak about these two negative experiences because, yeah, the idea is not just to bring positive experiences like, oh, we are the best evaluators of the world, but just to see what are examples of, from a student perspective, of what doesn't work. Okay, so for example, in the first example, there was the project work. So the idea of being evaluated for something that you can do in group. Very nice, very good. Like we were thinking about this kind of a collaborative peer assessment also in the first day of the Transformative Learning Forum. But what happened was that the professor didn't expose this to the students since the beginning. So it was not, there was no clarity about the process of evaluation at the beginning of the course. And this was a huge mistake because the professor was thinking that she was a good professor because she was evaluating the student with a project work, not with an oral examination. And also she was sharing the power of the evaluation with the students, giving them the possibility to self-evaluate and to evaluate the others. What else? I mean, the best that she can do. But the problem is that from the student perspective, if you ask this in the end of the course, in the end of a project, without explaining this with a clarity and consistency from the beginning, and without any kind of a supporting, this was perceived as a impossible challenge. That changed also the climate of the group, from a collaborative group to a competitive group. And in the second question, can you imagine something more practical than the methodology of research? Davi is a professor of methodology of research. Can you imagine something more practical? And how do you evaluate PhD candidates in methodology of research, posing them 100 questions? Multiple choices in 40 minutes online. It's like the worst thing that you can do in the world. But maybe it's like a blasphemy, okay? Something really, really bad, okay? But it's something completely without any sense because you cannot learn anything about methodology of research just reading chapters of the book and just trying to remember everything to respond to a crazy questionnaire, online questionnaire with multiple choices in 40 minutes. So those are very two examples of what doesn't work in the evaluation in academia. And I just, something of that kind is also contained in this book. Sometimes I give you visual references in case, this is an open access book. And it's about formative assessment in academia, but it's called Transformative Assessment in Academia. So in case you want to deepen this broad discourse on transformative assessment, you can read it. It's very simple, very, very simple. Just like, okay, if you are a teacher, what can you do to implement some formative assessment in your major? If you are a student, what can you do in order to adapt and adjust to a formative assessment, and how care about the climate of the classroom. That's very important, also to care about not only individual assessment, but also the climate of the classroom. And it's a good example in this case of the criteria that you can share with the students in case you want to ask them to self-evaluate. Because in this case, I found this example in which, for example, a teacher in communication can say that the criteria for a performance of its students can be the organization of the discourse, the capacity of keeping the eye contact, and so on. But much more important is that those criteria are shared from the beginning. That is very important, and there is a kind of a reinforce during the process, during the course, with the criteria for the evaluation. And then I would like to ask you to just respond to these two questions. Those are extremely easy, okay? And you can write, but also you can just raise your hand and tell us what are positive experience of assessment that you remember, and what are negative experience of assessment that you remember as a student and as a university student or postgraduate student. And in case of the positive experience, why those experiences worked? We needed to learn from successful practice, and we needed to understand why the unsuccessful, the awful practice didn't work. So, do you remember any story or any experience of a positive and negative? This will be the third moment of interaction. There will be just another one. I want to anticipate you, so don't worry. Much more explanation will follow. But do you remember an example of as a student? As a student. Or if you want as a teacher, that's fine. As a student?
I remember one was not with me, but I was in an evaluation with my colleague. And we have to, in architecture school, we have to put all projects on wall, of course. And the teacher, that was really renamed one, just said one thing to the students. Your work, I'm not going to talk about, and you have to know why. Was the evaluation.
Really?
Yeah. Just it.
It's so discouraging. So just say again.
Huh?
Say again the exact statement. I want to memorize the exact statement.
It was, I don't know if it was exactly, and it was in Portuguese, but he said, your work, I'm not going to talk about, and you have to know why.
It's so... This can be also worse than the story of the 100 questions. This can be seriously discouraging. You're right, Lucas. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Someone else?
It was not with me, but I was just beside.
But was like, if I would be the student, I would come back home and say, okay, I needed to change. I need to do something else in my life. Yeah. Please, Vittoria.
I have a similar one as a student. When I was in the university studying economy, once the professor, we were afraid because of the grade. We didn't know if we had a good or a bad grade. And he said, if I will publicate the notes in the system, and if you come here to know what you did wrong, I will reprove you. You are not going to pass. So that's okay. I saw a note in the system, and I don't know why that was the note.
Yeah, you don't know what happened.
I don't know until today.
Okay, So if someone has any idea, thank you. There was also Melanie. Yeah.
When I was a little kid, I think that about 8, and what happened to me was a division point in my life. We are having classes, Portuguese classes, and Portuguese is a difficult language to learn, especially when you write.
Thank you.
Then, Italian is worst. Italian is worst. But I was a little kid, and then I had to write a brief, I don't know, a summary, something like that. And then I wrote analysis with Z, no S. And then the teacher, Portuguese teacher, was so angry about me, about my mistake, that she made me write in front of all class. I was 8. I had to write 100 times in the blackboard, analysis with the letter S. I learned. But what made me, I started hating Portuguese. That's why I chose mathematics and engineering to study. After the University of Engineering School, that I started to study for my master's course and PhD, that I start to realize the importance of learning Portuguese, but it was so strong for me at the time that I was completely ashamed of being in front of everybody, and I was a shy kid, and I had to write 100 times analysis with S.
Thank you, Melanie, thank you.
Só complementando a Melanie, porque eu me tornei professora de português no Brasil porque eu passei por uma experiência parecida e eu queria transformar essa realidade. Eu fiquei segurando por meia hora o pingo no i. Compreende? Eu entendo que você fala inglês como você, mas eu não consigo me expressar. Ainda estou eu estou estudando inglês para poder destravar minha língua, mas eu compreendo tudo, tá bom? Então eu fiquei
I can understand. That's
meia hora segurando o pingo no i, porque esqueci de colocar o pingo no i. Então, quando fui para a academia, tortura. Quando fui para a academia, a minha primeira graduação eu fiz em letras, porque eu queria muito ensinar língua portuguesa de uma forma diferente, em que os alunos pudessem aprender de uma maneira reflexiva, de uma maneira participativa, de uma maneira criativa. Então, muitas coisas eu vi. Eu sou já vovozinha, né? Então, a minha educação foi muito tradicional, mas esse tradicional bem focado no castigo, né? Eu tive colegas que ficavam ajoelhados no milho. Você conhece milho? Popcorn? Corn.
Oh, yeah. So you were forced to...
Corn the knees, atrás da porta, né? 3 colegas, eu me lembro muito. Eu tinha 7 anos de idade, 7 anos. E os coleguinhas, não sei se alguém passou por isso, né? Eu estou entrando nos 50 anos agora, mas eu passei por isso. Eu estudei a vida toda em escola pública. E era muito comum no Brasil.
Obrigada. Someone else that want? Oh, please. Always bad practices of evaluation. Oh, finally we found the good ones. We can still trust our profession.
It's a good example. So in my first class in PhD, the professor handed us a test in the first class. We didn't have studied anything yet, and we did the test. And we were afraid because we didn't know anything yet. So we did the test, and then he said, "So this is for you. You take this for your home. In the end of the semester, you do the same test with the same questions, so you can see what you learned through the course." And he evaluated us individually by what we knew and we had learned during the class in like 3 months.
Yeah.
So it was really good because he could see each individual student.
It was a logbook, a kind of a logbook that he gave you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very common. It's a practice that I saw many times in the North American university, to give as a gift to students at the beginning of the course a logbook in which students should report their reflections, their perception of the lessons, what they have, their takeaways for each lesson. And I'm trying to implement this as an e-portfolio of the course. I provide my students, we will explain this better during the next workshop on the topic of transformative evaluation, but I give my students the logbook, but in a digital version, and they needed to write down what they understood of the lesson, the content, because I needed to prove that there's an improvement in the content, and the takeaways in some reflective ways. So this is a kind of e-portfolio that I create and draft for my specific courses. And at the end of this e-portfolio, I put the evaluation that the students give to me as professor. And this was very funny to see what the students say to me in the end of the course. They don't say, they know that that part was not under the evaluation, because I try to keep low the bias and keep low the desire to be, well evaluated. And I say to them, you can evaluate your teacher, and it's very important in order to give me feedback for the improvement of the next class. And this is extremely important, extremely. So that's the kind of practices of evaluation that we can implement. So thank you. There's another positive story or experience of, please go ahead.
I remember 2 positive experiences. The first one, during my criminal law class here at Mackenzie University, and the professor asked us to discuss a real case about drugs, examining the real files. So it was very interesting.
Very.
And the second one, when I was a child, 4 or 5 years old, my teacher asked us to make a draw with 2 or 3 colors only. And after that, my mother was a teacher in the same school, and my teacher said to my mother that after that she changed it because my draw was very creative, and I asked her to color with another kind of colors, and she changed the rule, the
representation that she has on you, la rappresentazione.
No, for everyone.
Oh, for everyone. She
but
changed the practice.
I think I asked her if it was possible to change the color, and she said in the first time that it's not possible, but she changed her mind, and I don't remember, but I think the next class she changed,
allowed the change of the colors.
Yes.
Yeah. So those are very important. Is there anyone else that wants to share his or her experience? Do you want to share, Tiago? Go ahead, please. Also in Portuguese is fine.
I have a positive experience when I was a student at the college. My professor gave me a gift that was paper. There really is a a printed page, a Gutenberg Bible. And this paper, or printed, awakened an interest about this discipline. I don't know English, in Portuguese, processos gráficos.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
The graphic design?
Graphic design. And nowadays I minister teaching this discipline.
Yeah,
in
really?
In the course.
So it has been something that changed the rest of your life?
Yeah.
At least until now.
I have this printed. I have this printed until
your profession.
About my profession, a gift.
Thank you. Also the idea of the gift. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you also for pointing this point. Someone else? Oh, from Lou.
Yes. No, it's perfect. It's perfect. I think I was about the third semester of the law school, and I was really in doubt about my career definition because I worked in a bank, and to make a career there, I should change to the economy course or to the business administration course, and I was really in doubt about my career, for what I intended to do in the future. And a professor decided to make a jury experience with us about an euthanasia discussion. And I had the experience to perform as the lawyer, to discuss euthanasia in the class, and that experience made me realize that I really wanted to be a lawyer and not a bank employee for life. And it was, I think, a really positive experience for me, for my career definition.
Thank you so much for this story. It's so powerful, and I can tell you that the topic is considered one of the worst in Italy because there's no agreement at all. There's a kind of a polarization in the public debate, so it was not easy as topic to discuss, but it was really a disorienting dilemma for you, and this changed the rest of your experience. Thank you for pointing this. I just want to build a little bit more in order to have a draft of the formalization of what we are talking about. And I want to give you this framework just a little bit, go in depth with this, and then have a short pausa cafe, a short coffee break. Yeah. In Italy, it's always pausa cafe. It's always a good time to have a pausa cafe. Not lunch, but pausa cafe, yes. Okay. Pausa cafe. Yeah. So about this framework, this is the kind of very complex model of a transformative framework for the assessment of learning outcomes, in which you can see we can find 4 different levels of assessment. The first level is the content assessment, and it's probably the one with which we are more familiar, because it's the assessment of the content of learning. It's the typical traditional assessment that we really do in our teaching. I'm used to see this kind of measurement of the body and the quantity of learning and information, or I don't know, formula or law, and that are acquired by our students. The best way to measure this is with graded surveys, maybe sometimes project work, and also with a questionnaire that can be multiple choices or open-ended. And probably this is something that we all know, because we all do this. I can tell you that in Italy it was very common, the oral examination. The oral examination has been for a long time the most widespread way to evaluate students at the end of the course. Then we have the learning assessment. So we start a second level. We can start to consider a second level of assessment in which we do not just focus on content, body of information interiorized, acquired, but we start to think about what those students have learned. Some capacity, some skills, and also some body of information. But we start thinking in terms of learning more than just content. And with this level of assessment, we move from a professor-oriented evaluation process to start to consider what our students are learning, at least to try to determine if they are learning something, and if yes, what and how. If not, what did we make wrong, or what didn't work in our designing, in our process of teaching. In this case, interviews, but also some kind of a formative assessment can be integrated with this level of the assessment. For example, we use a lot, you can see that after the pandemic, we used a lot of student responses system like Mentimeter, Kahoot, Padlet, I don't know, wherever who knows, okay? We can use this student responsive system to collect the feedback from students and also to start thinking about what they remember, what they are learning, and what they expect to find in our classes. So we are integrating the more tradition-based tools with the more interactive tools. Then we have probably the level to which we all want to achieve. The level of the assessment of change. In this case, we used to see, okay, but seriously, what's going on with the students and what kind of change, if any, we can measure, we can evaluate, we can consider for these students. And in this case, probably the best tools for the evaluation of the assessment of change is not only surveys, but the integration in multiple forms of assessment of traditional-based interviews and surveys with much more reflective essays, e-portfolio, and rubric, which are very important if we want to grade the level of skills and ability that our students can develop in our courses. Just start to create the idea of combining together multiple forms of evaluation. And finally, this is what you are developing here. That's the reason why I'm really enthusiastic about the work that you are doing here at the Mackenzie University, because you are touching the innovation assessment. You are touching a new perspective on assessment from the institution viewpoint. In this case, we see that we are not just seeking for the outcomes, reflective or transformative, for our single individual class. It's not just an enlightened professor, a good professor that is doing this in his work, but it's the institution who are trying to push students and professors to critically think and to go beyond the content learning assessment. And it's very important because this can help map innovative practices like the one with the hackathon. This can help to change the traditional teacher-centered practices, and this also it's very important in order to measure and make evident the level of agentic engagement, not only of students, but also for professors. It's very important. It's a shift in the cultural climate of the organization. In this case, you can, I put Max Teller project, the value rubric to which Max Teller project is inspired, at least is influenced, and also much more performative assessment like autoethnographic case study, self-case study, the e-portfolio, the Mackenzie portfolio is some kind of self-case study because it represents the story of a learning of a student from the beginning to the end, in which you can include the curricular activities, the co-curricular activities, and all the capacity and the skills that he's developing from a holistic perspective, an integrate perspective. So it's a very good practice of self-case study that you can and develop as an institution instead of just as an individual. I think that we can stop for a pausa cafe, and after, if you want, and after the pausa cafe, we will see 2 surveys that you can integrate in your complex system of evaluation in your class. Thank you.